Why don't you start and tell us about you and what you are doing?
And why you decided to tackle this particular area of study.
Well, tell you why. It's very clear in my mind because it's what feeds me and gets me up early and keeps me up late at night working as an activist on top of having a full-time practice. The woman, the housewife, the janitor, the executive who has Prozac in their medicine cabinet, who thinks that they are taking medicine to get well, is actually in worse shape than the crackhead smoking crack in a crack house because at least, the person smoking crack knows that they have to stop doing drugs to get well. What happens is, they're not given all the information because, it's called informed consent. Medical legal laws states that the patient for any treatment has to be informed of the risks and the potential dangers of any drug or therapy that they're being presented with. The doctors are being lied to. I mean, come on, every state in the union has lawsuits against pharmaceutical companies right now and are winning. Doctors are even being lied to be sold these drugs. So that entirely negates the premise of informed consent, because if your doctor's being lied to, how can you be getting the right information to make the correct decisions for your treatment?
Right. Who's going to inform you?
Exactly. These things come with high risk. I'm talking about all of them. The antidepressants, the psychostimulants, Ritalin is cocaine. It's molecularly and on PET scans and everything. It's identical to cocaine.
Wow.
Really?
Yes, it is. The list of damages of these psychiatric drugs, they're so prolific in our society now, it's the only choices that you're given. You walk into a psychiatrist's office, 99.9% of the time you're going to walk out with a cocktail of drugs. The problem is the war on drugs that we had for street drugs, that we spent billions of dollars on, all the list of everything, from violent crimes to car accidents to, loss of productivity to loss of life, we're suffering the exact same issues and costs to the American citizens, taxpayers, that the street drugs were. Except but now the psychiatric drugs, because they are legalized counterparts to the illegal ones.
Well, not only that, like what you were saying too, is that drugs, they're bad for you, street drugs, and you got to get off them. Whereas here's people come in and they trust completely their doctors.
And that's a shame. This is horrific. These doctors are giving out this stuff, and I look at this stuff under the microscope, and I can sit there and watch it kill brain neurons in rats. This is not medicine. This is harming people. And then you look at the side effects and the deaths and the diabetes and the obesity and everything, and you see why. We're getting the proof.
When you quit taking a medicine that's been prescribed to you for various and sundry reasons, and you feel that you're justified in not taking it anymore, you are vilified by your physician.
Absolutely. And by the way, I do want to put this out because straight up, because a lot of people are listening, do want to get off drugs. Please, it is very dangerous to do this without the right supervision and support from a knowledgeable, licensed practitioner. It doesn't have to be an AMA doctor if you don't want it. It can be a holistic doctor that is trained in getting people off of psych drugs. But you do need help. You do need to be monitored because there are problems getting off of these drugs. But yes, to go back to what you mentioned, yes, they are vilified. And here's where we get into forced and coerced drugging. Here's what happens. Okay, now everyone will agree if you smoke crack for a few months, you're going to have withdrawal if you try and get off, right?
Right.
Okay, these drugs are the same thing, okay? They do affect the same brain centers. They are addictive. They're extremely addictive. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, because at my clinic, they're getting the best that medicine can provide to help them off gently, and they can be struggling. There's certain things that you have to do to make it a smoother ride. So what happens, they'll start getting symptomatic, and they will start freaking out. Because, by the way, Vivian, Maria, and the rest of us listening, not only was the original cause never explored, why you went in for anxiety, why you went in for depression, the physical underlying cause of your condition was never explored or corrected, because these drugs they're very good at what I call forgiving irresponsible lifestyles, dietary and otherwise, irresponsible lifestyles. You take a pill and you don't feel the effects anymore. But that's too bad, because I like my symptoms. They tell me something's going wrong, and I change things I'm doing. If I'm drinking too much coffee, if the holidays are coming up, if I start doing sugar, I feel it,
Right.
I want to feel it, because it's saying, my body's saying, no, this is hurting me. You want to be friendly to your symptoms and listen to them. You don't want to cancel them.
Wow, until you said that, I didn't really think about that. But how many times we go in for something and we just get a cover-up. Nobody really explores what's going on within our bodies.
Well, exactly. See, that's the horrific problem, is that this is scary. Everyone should be concerned that's on these drugs, because not only is the original problem still there, it's like cutting the wires to your oil lamp in your car, right? Your oil light. You know, you're still running low on oil, and that engine's going to blow. You just don't see the light anymore.
Good point.
You know? So now not only is that problem still manifesting under the hood, I call it, you know, beneath the skin, it's still manifesting. The problem's still there. You're just not aware of it, thinking, oh, you're better, right? Mm-hmm. So you still have that problem, plus the damage that the drug has done to the neuroendocrine system. So now when you're trying to get, and also the addiction, you know, the neurochemical adaptation that's occurred, that changes everything, by the way, people. That's your survival mechanism. It's actually a very elegant thing to think about. Adaptation, neurochemical adaptation, is a beautiful thing in the right environment. You know, in a healthy environment, that's a beautiful thing. But neurochemical adaptation, which is our survival mechanism, with drugs, that's not a good thing, because your body will change and shift everything in order to adapt to that drug so it doesn't kill you in 5 minutes. It will kill you long term, but not in 5 minutes. So you have all these problems now, the damage from the drug, the addiction, and the original problem, and now you are set up with an even bigger challenge than before you started the drugs. It's now piled up. You've now got a layered problem as opposed to just the original problem. You tell your doctor, oh, I want to quit. Well, you know, that's loss of income. That's not the medical model. That's not standards of care anymore, because standard of care is toxic. It's a drug, maximum profit. And by the way, this is all about profit. It has nothing to do with the health of the patient. The medical model for psychiatry is not patient outcome driven. It is profit driven, okay? Mm-hmm. I believe this is criminal, because this is where people get locked in and lose hope. And when you lose hope, when you cause someone to lose hope, that's criminal, because they go down fast at that point. Then they say, you see, you are messed up. You do have a condition. You do have a psychiatric, you know, mental disease. None of these diagnostic labels from the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, have any test or proof that they even exist. I want your people to know, your listeners to know, that psychiatrists go to conventions yearly and raise their hand and vote whether or not they think something is a condition to be treated with a drug. You have a heart condition, they run tests and they pinpoint, oh yes, you have high cholesterol, we need to, you know, work on that. They run tests to prove the basis of the treatment. Psychiatrists don't do that. And this is why we run into so many problems, because yes, people do have chemical imbalances in their brain today, and it's not because they're short a purple pill, I guarantee. It's not because they're low on Ritalin, they're not low on Zoloft, it's not because they're low on these things. It's because the neuroendocrine system, which is your pharmacist within, produces all the neurochemicals for your body. It's your pharmacist within. It's being attacked from every angle with toxicity, and it's neurotoxic toxicity. Chemicals in your food, MSG, aspartame. I had a patient when I was still living in Burbank there. I had a patient, and my daughter's gynecologist sent her to me. She was suffering with extreme chronic anxiety. She was young, 24 years old, did not have a drug or alcohol problem, good job, stable family, nice boyfriend, college student. Good kid. She was becoming debilitated with anxiety. So she sent her over to me. This girl was actually having to call in sick with anxiety. She was gaining tons of weight. And she was freaking out.
The drugs that they give you for anxiety cause you to gain a lot of weight.
Weight gain, obesity, cancer, aneurysms, liver disease, the list is very tardive dyskinesia. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and it's not. It's actually aspartame and drug poisoning from the drugs, because they're very neurotoxic. I saw in her intake forms that she chewed a pack of gum a day, because when she started her job at the bank, she was face-to-face a lot with people, so she started this gum chewing habit. Uh-huh. Aspartame, okay? I'm like, you're chewing a pack, and she had Diet Coke in her diet.
Oh.
So, I told her, I said, I put her on a detox diet. We got rid of the aspartame, and she was fine in a month.
See,
fine.
This is so amazing, because it's so simple, really, you know, but because our society makes it so complex. And our beliefs are so hard to change. Wait, these are doctors and pharmaceutical companies and scientists. They must know.
What about diagnoses that I think are pretty severe in the world of mental illness, like schizoaffective disorder, schizophrenia? Are those things also fixable?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Dr. Abram Hoffer, who wrote the foreword to my first book, actually was famous for natural, what we call orthomolecular approaches toward mental diseases, mental health issues. And actually his claim to fame with this, and it's not a panacea because everyone is different, and this is why we have to do testing. And by the way, there is testing that can be done. I'm a big proponent of people going back to conventional doctors. Western medicine is wonderful. Their claim to fame is diagnostics.
Right.
They can get to the bottom of things.
Right.
You know what? A good stop is a neuroendocrinologist and a toxicologist. Those two people can put it together for you, okay?
Okay.
If your condition is so serious, you are manic or you are schizophrenic, or if a loved one is listening that's in the, caring for someone with these conditions, please go to a medical doctor, not a psychiatrist. I don't consider them medical doctors because medicine is supposed to be based on science, and they don't base their practice on science. And in fact, even AMA doctors, you talk to them. I'm on Dr. Stanley Monteith's show a lot. He's a doctor. And you talk to them and you start talking about this subject, and they'll tell you they consider them the bottom feeders because there's neurosurgeons on the top and psychiatry zero, because there is no science to this. There's no test. There's nothing. In fact, that's why so many people are dying on these things, because if your serotonin levels are fine and you start taking an SSRI, you can suffer serotonin syndrome within days and be suicidal.
Yeah.
Because you go into a serotonin syndrome. I mean, it's crazy that to give very potent drugs to a person without testing. I mean, I'm not a big fan of them, period, because because they injure, they don't heal. They injure your all the healthy biochemical processes in your body, and any hope while you're on drugs for getting well, truly getting well.
What if somebody's listening right now and they're going through depression and they're just about ready to go see a psychiatrist?
Right.
And let's just say they have nowhere to turn for holistic things, or they have no clue about it. What would you tell them to do? Like, what's your advice for them?
I do provide 24/7, I pay for out-of-pocket, a hotline for people to call to talk to somebody. Everyone has different out-of-pocket ability, because holistic is out-of-pocket. Everyone's situation is different, and we can match them up the appropriate care.
Oh, that's great.
I discuss strategies on the air, but of course we do not prescribe because, we are responsible.
Right.
A psychiatrist actually did diagnose someone over the phone on a show. Can you believe that?
No, I can't actually. I mean, everyone should kind of know that.
Seriously, I mean, that's how irresponsible they've gotten.
Wow.
They've really taken the money and run with it. And, people are just too willing, too. They're, like you said, they're ready to go to a psychiatrist. They're in pain. I'm not saying that the symptoms don't exist. I'm just saying that the labels don't.
Right.
Everyone is different. You have to get tested, And, of course, if you lose a loved one, this is where also drugs completely detach people, because they do create isolation in society, all right? You take a drug, you crawl in the corner, and, you start isolating yourself. Hard times is when we're supposed to be reaching out. You go to church, you go to your temple, you go to your ashram, you reach out for help, for counseling through those systems. Even in psychological counseling, people need people to talk to sometimes that are not in their circle. They're struggling with something that they don't want to broadcast in their social circles or even their family circles. So those are the type of things where they need to reach out. Go to a doctor, or go to a naturopath, any doctor you choose to work with. You want to make sure that they're successful at your condition. By the way, get your thyroid tested, get your adrenals tested. I treat a lot of people that come to me with a bipolar diagnosis.
Right.
And you know what? When we get done with the testing, of course, I got to give them a stable environment, clear them off their drugs, clear them off all the caffeine, sugars, and everything, so we can get a true biochemical read on their neurochemistry, their biochemistry, their critical organ function. But guess what they have?
What?
70% of my patients that have been diagnosed with that, they have adrenal fatigue combined with hypoglycemia.
Whoa.
Now, put that together. That hypoglycemia, very, very common today. Very common because of processed foods, sugar, and coffee, right?
Right.
You have the hypoglycemia going on, so low blood sugar. You know, everybody's experienced that to some degree these days. And then you combine that with adrenal fatigue with very, very low cortisol, and you hit those low blood sugar moments, and you can get teary, cry, be overreactive to, you know, simple things, bumps in the road in, you know, life's journey. And then on the other side, you know, you'll have a cup of coffee or candy bar, and woo, okay, you get some serotonin in there, and you're high as a kite.
Change the subject.
The other 30%, we've found that I work with a toxicologist, that they were actually chemically sensitive to, it was either a food, even lawn care, like a lot of gardeners, because of the stuff that they put in there.
I wondered about that.
On their lawn, yeah, or organophosphates, and it's accumulative. So it starts damaging the neuroendocrine system, and then they start becoming symptomatic. Look at this pragmatically. Pretend you're a scientist and say, I want to know why I feel like this. I don't want to cancel it. I want to know why. And then once you find out why and you fix it this time, guess what? You know what to do the next time you run into tough times.
We are seeing such a upsurge in diagnoses like all the bipolar and schizophrenia.
Right.
And the people who are diagnosed with those diseases become addicted to substances for various and sundry reasons. We don't know which
Well, a lot of
comes
people
first.
start out self-medicating.
Exactly.
Then they get unfounded medication or, you know, drugs.
Right,
Drugs
right.
do not heal, okay?
No, they don't.
I know
that.
street drugs, legal drugs, God, however you want to put it. I believe natural medicine is God's medicine. That's my personal belief. But regardless of your spiritual beliefs and how you look at medicine, whether it's a street drug or a drug given by a doctor, the body looks at it the same way. The body doesn't care if it's legal or illegal.
Right.
It's a toxic drug that actually causes advanced oxidative stress, which means it does not discriminate throughout the body. There's nothing selective about these selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. There's nothing selective. The damage starts in the gut. I send my people in for colonics. We need to get stuff out. We need to clear out the cells so we can get the nutrients and the good stuff in, right?
Right.
We've actually pulled pills out of their gut, their lower colons, because their digestive tracts are so damaged from these drugs.
Oh my God.
Well, I also think that that's a double-edged sword on a lot of levels, because I heard somewhere someone saying that, you know, people that take the solid vitamins, those aren't being digested either. So we think that we can eat like crap and then take vitamins, which is going to counterbalance the lack of nutrients that we're digesting from food. Of course, our foods don't contain a whole lot of nutrients, and that's a whole other subject. But that the vitamins that we're taking are not being digested. They're just going right through us and being expelled, and we're not getting the benefits of taking vitamins to begin with.
Well, and by the way, you know, fundamentally, and this is good for everybody to know on this topic, even though we're talking about psych drugs and the dangers and the solutions around them, you know, you have to have an organic, whole food diet, because you can have all the vitamins and minerals in your system. Everyone's focused on those, and yes, they are fundamentally very, very important. Without them, we die.
Right.
But you need you need the organic acids, the enzymes, and everything that put them all together and make them work for you. So you can't chase away a bad diet with pills. Don't think that you can take vitamins and chase away a bad diet. The effects of a bad diet, you can't.
Right.
You know, they supplement a very good diet, and they will and do work. My practice is centered on that. I want to share this because you'll never hear this on NBC, because they're bought and sold, you know, their lights are on because of pharmaceutical companies. I see people transform every single day. I mean, that's what I love about my work, is I get to watch people fall in love with life again. It's like they're reborn. You know, they get out of the fog of these drug addictions, legal and illegal. And I got done boasting about it because I just became a regular experience for me, you know, something I enjoy about my career. But this one woman, we love pointing her out these days, because a couple months ago we discharged her after a month and a half at the clinic. And she came to us in a wheelchair and a mask on. She was so fatigued, and her nervous system was so damaged she couldn't make it up the stairs to her room. And she had a mask on because she had become so chemically sensitive that she would react, and for some reason there was something in shoes that would really set her off. Within 6 weeks, we got her off the medication she was on, whole, you know, organic diet, targeted nutritional therapy based on her test that we ran. We did a lot of chelation. People need to understand that heavy metals are cumulative along with the pesticides in their bodies, because they're all neurotoxic. We chelated her. We pulled all the junk and the toxicity in her system and fed her system good organic food and supplements and targeted nutritional therapies and yoga and got her involved in all this good stuff. She sprung out of the wheelchair. She left. She was springing up the stairs that she couldn't even crawl up when she got to us. She got out of the wheelchair, was fine, was painting again. She hadn't painted in 3 years since she was on the drugs. She was writing her poetry again. Also, she was no longer chemically sensitive. You know, her liver was so sluggish, things were piling up in her blood and causing reactions. This woman lost her mother 3 years ago, went to a doctor because she was depressed. Of course, you know, come on.
Sure.
You know, went to a doctor, they put her on antidepressants, and then she started getting reactive, and then they put her on different ones, and then different ones, and then more. And this is how this woman ended up like this, all because she was sad and depressed that her mother passed away.
Well, I mean, not even counting all the drugs given to her, just look at what our society in general eats today. It's, big gulps and things like that with colors in them. They're rainbow colors.
Right. Hey, I always tell people, hey, the brighter the picture, the more colorful the picture, the farther you run.
So, before we go on, would you give out that number for the hotline that you have?
The hotline is 877-285-9266. And by the way, I have some freebies, that'll help everybody.
All right.
I do have a book coming out, Green Mental Health Care, How to Get Off and Stay Off Psychiatric Drugs. And by the way, it goes into everything that talks about how to remove toxicity in your home, your diet, your lawn.
Ooh.
This is a big issue. I mean, I go through all of the things that are causing the epidemic mental health issues today. You know, they do exist, and they're only going to get worse until we clean this planet up. I have actually given the core value of this book. I'm a philanthropist. I care about people. I watch what people go through, and it drives me crazy. So I gave away, and I understand that there's a lot of people that don't have the money to do out-of-pocket. And by the way, that's another warning for people to really reconsider going on drugs, because they'll get you on this stuff, but they will not pay to get you off of it. And it's extremely, my clinic is expensive. I have to pay people. There's no insurance to cover this stuff. So please reconsider even going on them. I've given the core value of the book away in a pamphlet that they can download from my nonprofit site, which is greenbodyandmind.com. And they can download the pamphlet, and it gives you the strategy, first, horrors of these drugs, and why to get off, and the problem, and then the solution, how to pick a doctor, what your treatment should look like. I basically give away what we do at the clinic, but I do urge people they have to do this with a doctor, okay, with a naturopath, a functional medical doctors are the best. Download the pamphlet there. They can also get a DVD, a free DVD. It's called Marketing of Madness. Are We All Insane? It just came out. And this will give you it's a 2.5-hour documentary on the problems and all the dangers and, the marketing of how these drugs got into the market, the insanity of psychiatric practices. Drugs were their claim to fame. Psychiatrists used to be, this is why I want, mental health issues given back to medical doctors, real medical doctors.
Right.
We were doing much better when they had the game. Psychiatrists were actually the foot soldiers. They were the people, the attendants in the psych wards that would care for, the people and carry out the real doctors' protocols. It wasn't until pharmaceutical companies handed drugs to them and gave them a tablet that was their claim to fame. And there's no science behind it. Call, we'll help you out. We'll identify the best service avenue for you to go. If you don't have money, we have resources for you to get help. We'll talk to you more about, the people, and we'll look up people for you in your area that we trust, that we know are good. They're coming in. They're starting to monitor our kids in classrooms. They're actually training. NAMI is training Joe Blow here in Santa Cruz, just regular people, to go into our classrooms and monitor children for psychiatric mood and behavioral issues.
This is crazy. Greenbodyandmind.com, is that where people can go to get the book? Yes,
greenbodyandmind.com is my nonprofit.
All right. And I'm going to give the hotline number out one more time. It's 877-285-9266.
Correct. Detoxify your diet. Accumulated neurotoxins are causing overexcitatory and mental health issues. They're the number one cause. So detoxify your diet, detoxify your home, get pesticides out of off your lawns, out of your home. They're in everything. So go green across the board. You will be surprised how much better you feel.
Okay.
Transdermals, kids, parents that are using organophosphates on their lawns, and schools that are using these on their lawns. Transdermal entry is actually worse than eating these pesticides for children. One of the causes of the ADD, the hyperactivity. You got to look at lawns, and they're rolling around in them. Get the sugar out of their diet. Get all of the artificial sweeteners, including xylitol, out of their diet. Sugars, stimulants, get stimulants out of your diet. Talk to your schools about the toxic cleaners. The Environmental Workers Group did a study of California schools, found 457 chemicals on surfaces in the air that are neurotoxic and driving kids crazy, and are also kicking off asthmatic issues.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you
we
for
gotta have
having me.
you back. This has been so enlightening. We really appreciate your time.
Great. Well, God bless to all. We're in this together. Remember that.
Thanks, Genita.
Yes. We're all in this together. Thanks, Genita.
All right. Take care, you guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Love you all.
Okay.